In the modern NFL, we've seen every kind of receiver. The physical monsters, the route-running wizards, the deep threats, the yak machines. But Diggs, he's all of it, wrapped in a 6-foot frame with the swagger of a superstar and the footwork of a ballerina on caffeine. He's PRIME Stefon Diggs, and when he's locked in, he's a problem. A serious one at that. But Diggs is more than just numbers and highlights. He's a story, one built on disrespect, perfectionism, and an unrelenting obsession with proving people wrong. So how good is PRIME Stefon Diggs really? Let's go back to the beginning. Born on November 29, 1993 in Gaithersburg, Maryland, Stefon Diggs grew up in a house that was filled with love, hardship, and responsibility. When his father passed away from heart failure in 2008, Stefon was just 14. He instantly became the man of the house, helping raise his younger brothers, including future NFL cornerback Trevon Diggs. But even with the weight of the world on his shoulders, Diggs still dreamed big. He wanted to play college ball. He wanted to make it to the league. He wanted to dominate. At Our Lady of Good Counsel High School, he was electric. As a junior, he had 810 receiving yards with 23 touchdowns. By his senior year, he was the number 2 wide receiver recruit in the country and started playing defense. 770 receiving yards with 8 receiving touchdowns and 277 rushing yards with 3 rushing touchdowns. On defense, he had 31.5 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. He was named first team All-Metropolitan by the Washington Post. He could have gone anywhere, but he chose Maryland, staying close to home, close to family. At Maryland, the flashes were immediate. As a freshman, Diggs put up 848 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns despite shaky quarterback play and limited offensive weapons. He returned kicks, lined up everywhere, and was that dude. But injuries and inconsistency plagued his next 2 years. In total, he missed 11 games over his final 2 seasons, and just like that, the hype faded. By the time the 2015 NFL Draft rolled around, teams weren't talking about Stefon Diggs, the 5-star. They were talking about Stefon Diggs, the question mark. Round 1, no. Round 2, passed on. Round 3, still waiting. Round 4, silence on the telephone. Finally, in the 5th round, pick 146, the Minnesota Vikings called his name. Diggs didn't forget. Not the draft slide, not the doubters, and not the slights. And from the moment he stepped on an NFL field, he made sure the league would never forget either. Diggs exploded as a rookie, 720 receiving yards with 4 touchdowns, clutch catches, clean routes, sideline awareness like a veteran wide receiver. By 2016, he was the go-to guy in Minnesota, and by 2017, he was part of one of the best receiving tandems in football, alongside Adam Thielen. And then the moment happened. January 14th, 2018, NFC Divisional Round. 10 seconds left, down 24-23. Case Keenum drops back, Diggs goes up, comes down, turns upfield, and takes it to the house. The Minneapolis Miracle. Game over. The stadium erupts, and a legend is born. That was Diggs' national coming out party. The hands, the poise, the awareness, the playmaking. But beneath the surface, tensions were bubbling. Diggs wanted a bigger role. He wanted more freedom, more volume, more respect. And when he didn't get it, he made noise, loudly and publicly. Eventually, the Vikings had enough. March of 2020, the Buffalo Bills trade 4 draft picks to land Stefon Diggs, including a first-rounder that would become Justin Jefferson. It was a bold move. Buffalo was betting big, not just on talent, but on temperament. Could a fiery wideout coexist with a young quarterback in Josh Allen? Would Diggs buy in? The answer was immediately. 2020 was the start of PRIME Stefon Diggs. 127 receptions, which led the NFL, 1,535 receiving yards, which also led the NFL, 8 receiving touchdowns, a first-team All-Pro nomination, Pro Bowl, and AFC Championship game. Diggs wasn't just good, he was unstoppable. He had route running that looked choreographed, body control that defied physics, and separation on every level of the field. And the chemistry with Josh Allen was elite. They were like jazz musicians, improvising, syncing, and elevating. Diggs made Allen better, and Allen made Diggs deadly. The Bills had been searching for a true wide receiver 1 for decades, and finally, they had one. And for the next 3 seasons, Diggs didn't let up. In 2021, he had 103 catches, 1,225 yards, and 10 touchdowns. In 2022, 108 catches, 1,429 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns. 2023, 107 catches for 1,183 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 straight Pro Bowls, more top 10 finishes, and more playoff moments. But the cracks again started to form. Stefondiggs is passionate, but sometimes that passion bleeds into friction. He's had sideline blowups, disagreements with coaches, cryptic tweets, and questions about leadership. In Buffalo, things got tense. After the 2022 playoff loss to Cincinnati, Diggs stormed out of the locker room. He skipped voluntary OTAs, and speculation grew that he was unhappy with his role, that he was frustrated with Josh Allen, and by 2024, the situation had boiled over. Diggs was traded to the Houston Texans, an up-and-coming team with a young quarterback in CJ Stroud and a new identity. In Houston, he seemed primed to help carry a very hyped Texans offense to the promised land. However, Diggs, along with the whole wide receiver room, had to deal with injuries. In Week 8 against the Colts in a non-contact play, Diggs tore his ACL, ending his season. Still, during the season, he had 47 receptions, 496 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. That wasn't enough though, and in the 2025 offseason, Diggs decided to sign with the New England Patriots for a 3-year, $63.5 million deal. However, then came the yacht video. Stefondiggs, surrounded by women handing out a pink substance, and the internet went wild. There was no confirmation, no statement, but the optics weren't great, especially when paired with him initially missing Patriots OTAs, recovering from a torn ACL, and a massive contract. So now the questions got a little louder. Is Diggs committed? Can he still be elite post-injury? And will his personality clash in a no-nonsense culture like New England? So how good is PRIME Stefon Diggs really? Let's break it down even further. His route running is in the top 3 in the NFL, period. His ability to sell fakes, shift tempos, and cut on a dime is surgical. He has elite hands, soft hands with high point ability. He rarely drops easy balls and comes down with contested catches. He's one of the best separation receivers in the league, especially on intermediate and deep routes. He has incredible body control, whether it's toe tapping on the sideline or adjusting midair. Diggs is a master at it all. And after the catch, he's sneaky. Now, he's not Tyreek Hill, but he can make defenders miss and turn short gains into big ones. Just look at the Minneapolis Miracle. His football IQ is extensive. He understands leverage, adjusts to coverages, and knows how to sit in zones or break away in man. And from 2020 to 2023, these are his prime production stats. 445 catches, 5,372 yards, 37 receiving touchdowns, 4 Pro Bowls, and 1 All-Pro selection. That's dominance. But what comes next? Stefondiggs is 31 years old, coming off a knee injury, and has some baggage. But if, and it's a big if, he's healthy and focused, he's still a top 10 receiver, still capable of taking over games, and still one of the best route runners this league has ever seen. He may never be everyone's favorite personality, but make no mistake, on Sundays, Diggs delivers, and if he clicks with Drake May in New England, if the fire is still burning inside of him, the league has to watch out. Now the big question is, will Stefondiggs go down as a Hall of Famer? Well, for me it's too early to say, but he's already got nearly 900 receptions, over 10,000 receiving yards, 70 receiving touchdowns, multiple All-Pro honors, iconic moments, and one of the most consistent 4-year runs in recent memory. He's not just a stat patter, he's a culture shifter in Minnesota, in Buffalo, and maybe in Foxborough. And when we talk about PRIME Stefon Diggs, we have to mention the postseason. While he hasn't played in a Super Bowl yet, Diggs has had moments that defined playoff football. Take the Minneapolis Miracle, for instance. Even though he wasn't at his statistical peak yet, that moment, catching the walk-off touchdown against the Saints, was more than just a highlight. It was a preview of the kind of impact player he was destined to become. And once he got to Buffalo, he became the centerpiece of one of the NFL's most dangerous passing attacks. In the 2020 playoffs, Diggs had 311 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in 3 games. He was Josh Allen's go-to weapon, a security blanket, and an explosive threat rolled into one. Against the Ravens in the divisional round, he posted 106 yards and a touchdown, torching a defense filled with All-Pros. The following year, he helped lead the Bills to that epic divisional showdown against the Kansas City Chiefs, a game that will go down in NFL history. Even though the Bills lost in overtime, Diggs' presence was critical. He drew double coverage all night, freeing up others like Gabe Davis to shine. That's the kind of player Diggs became in his prime, one who dictates coverage and warps defensive game plans. plans. But if you really want to appreciate Stefon Diggs, you have to look at how he stacks up against the greats. Through his first 9 NFL seasons, Diggs totaled over 10,000 receiving yards and 70 touchdowns. Let's compare that with some all-time legends. Jerry Rice had 10,273 yards and 103 touchdowns in his first 9 seasons. Larry Fitzgerald had 10,413 and 77 touchdowns. Marvin Harrison had 10,572 and 92 touchdowns. Stefon Diggs, 10,491 and 70 touchdowns. Now, those players had Hall of Fame quarterbacks from day one. Diggs spent 5 years in a run-heavy Minnesota offense before joining an elite passer in Josh Allen. When given the chance to truly thrive in a modern spread system, Diggs didn't just match his peers, he elevated, and he's still climbing. Ask any defensive back, any defensive coordinator, or any receiver trainer. They'll tell you, Diggs runs some of the cleanest, most deceptive, most efficient routes in the league. He doesn't just beat defenders with speed, he outthinks them. Head fakes, leverage manipulation, late hands. He plays chess at full speed, and that makes him deadly. His understanding of how to stem a route, how to sell one break and explode into another is surgical. Watch him work against man coverage, and you'll see ankles left on the field. Watch him against zone, and you'll see the quarterback throwing to Diggs before he even turns around because the route is that precise. It's why he's been among the league leaders in separation per route run. It's why he catches everything thrown in his vicinity, and it's why quarterbacks love throwing to him because they know exactly where he'll be, exactly when he needs to be there. So yes, off the field, Diggs is a headline, but on the field, he's a tactician, a technician, a star. That said, the story isn't done. After a messy end in Minnesota and an explosive rise in Buffalo, Diggs now enters a new chapter. He's a New England Patriot with a team that's rebuilding, rebranding, and searching for identity still post-Brady. For the first time in years, Diggs isn't joining a contender. He's helping build one. He'll be asked to lead, mentor, and carry. He's asked to elevate a young quarterback room and to prove that even in his early 30s, he can still be elite. Is that a lot to ask? Sure, but Stefon Diggs has never backed down from a challenge. He was a 5th-round pick who became a wide receiver 1. He was a doubted player who became a Pro Bowler. He was a perceived diva who became a captain, and he turned pain into purpose, noise into fuel, and opportunity into excellence. And now, as he faces maybe the toughest chapter of his career coming off an injury in a new city with a new quarterback and a new system, we're going to find out something we haven't seen yet. Not how good Stefon Diggs was, but how long greatness can actually last. Because Prime Diggs was surgical, he was dominant and transcendent, and maybe, just maybe, he still is. So how good is Stefon Diggs really? To sum it up in strengths, he is an elite route runner, top 5 all-time potential. His hands are reliable, strong, and clutch in big moments. He's one of the best in the league at getting separation. His yards after catch is underrated for their toughness and vision. His football IQ is extremely high as he understands coverages, leverage, and timing better than most receivers, and his competitiveness allows him to play with a chip on his shoulder every snap. However, his negatives are the off-field noise. He's clashed with teammates and coaches at all times during his career. His durability. Coming off a serious knee injury in 2024, we have yet to see how he recovers. And there's an age curve. He's entering his early 30s, where speed receivers typically start their decline. And there's going to be the leadership test of can he guide a young team instead of just producing on his own. Diggs will never be everyone's cup of tea, but he doesn't have to be. Get open, make plays, change games. He's not just good, he's one of the best route runners that we have ever seen. He's not just productive, he's actually historically elite. And in his prime, he was unstoppable. So we'll leave you with this. Is Stefon Diggs a Hall of Famer? Or is he just a really good receiver in the social media era? Let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget, when the lights are brightest and the route has to be perfect, you're looking for Diggs.